Hi, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about even more bookish pet peeves with you, and I'm going to mention some of the ones that I didn't talk about in my last video, and I'm also going to be reacting to your bookish pet peeves, which I had asked for over on my Instagram stories, and I got a lot of responses that had some things that I agreed with and some things that I was kind of like, wow, can't believe you said that. I think first we should go over some of the responses I got that agreed with pet peeves I talked about in my first part to this video, which I will link in the card and down below. Inez agreed with me that long chapters are the worst. Jade said that ebooks being the same price as physical copies, agreed. I talked about that in my first video that I feel like a lot of the time it's either the same price or sometimes now it's been more expensive, which is crazy. Faye said dumb main characters, which I'm gonna lump that in with my rant about characters who don't have flaws, because I did go off on a tangent about how the character needs to be like well-rounded and nuanced and have like depth to them more so than like a good plot to me personally. So we're gonna lump dumb characters in with that because agreed. If the character is just stupid, like just straight up stupid and doesn't have any other aspect of their personality and they're just doing dumb shit all the time, annoying. Could not agree more. And Senna said inconsistent covers, book sizes in a series. I'm going to, again, just lump that in with my covers changing because agreed, when you line the books up on the shelf and the spines are different heights, yeah, good shout on that one. And I totally should have mentioned it when I was talking about the book covers because I absolutely hate them. Tim said when they don't complete the series in the same style covers. Again, so agree with you on that one. So those are the only few that kind of like agree with the pet peeves that I had talked about in my first video. So now we're going to talk about some more of my pet peeves, and I will mention more of the viewer comments that I got when they pop up if they coincide with the ones I'm going to talk about. And I will talk about the rest of the comments at the end because I got so many good ones that I didn't think of personally, so I'm not going to take credit for them. I did have a list ready before filming this video. And then after seeing everyone's comments, I was like, oh my God, you guys are so right. I totally should have thought of that, but I didn't. So I'm not going to take credit for those. I'll chat about those at the end. And so you guys can see who told me about them because a lot of these, yes, I agree. The first bookish pet peeve I'm going to talk about that I forgot to mention in my first video is when there's just like 1,000 books that are called a blank of blank and blank. I literally just don't care. If a book has that title, I just probably am not going to read it. Obviously, there's ACOTAR series, and I read those like back when they came out initially. Like that's when I first read them, way back when they were coming out. Like, and it was kind of newer to have that style of title back then. Now I just feel like it's so common, and I'm just over it, honestly. Like, can we just have a normal name for a book? Like, why does it have to be a blank of blank and blank or of blank and blank? Like, those are very similar. And honestly, they're just annoying. I'm sure some of those books are great. I don't care. The title is annoying. The next pet peeve I want to mention is cartoon book covers. I'll put some up here. There's that hockey one. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. But those covers are so juvenile to me. Like they are very immature in their styling, and it icks me out because the content inside of those books is not juvenile, it's adult. Like a lot of these books are romance books with sex scenes in them, and I'm just like, how many 10 to 13-year-olds are like looking at like the romance section and like, oh, this one looks like it's for, it's appropriate, and it's not appropriate. And also a lot of times libraries and bookstores, I think more so with libraries, those romance ones with the cartoon covers, they're like often on display because the covers are pretty and they're like at the front, and then it's like, are those books getting into the correct hands? I don't know. I do know that ACOTAR is placed in the YA section, so I'm wondering if like some of those romance books that maybe have like hard-hitting topics and also like open door sex scenes, like maybe they're ending up in the YA category at libraries because of the style of the cover, because a librarian isn't going to read 100% of all of the materials they're intaking into the library, right? That's impossible. So those covers just really aggravate me because I'm like, who is your target audience? Who? The next pet peeve that I forgot to mention in my first video is genre snobs. And by this, I mean people who read classics or high fantasy or like hard sci-fi. And they're over here looking down their nose like, ew, romance readers, ew, romantasy. You're not reading real literature. Only I'm reading real literature because I read classics. I read classic sci-fi. I read horror. Like, who cares? Who cares? That's not your life. You're not the one doing it. Fuck off. Like, shut up. Genuinely just pisses me off. And I find that a lot of the times, not to generalize, but a lot of the times where I'm seeing the genre snobbery is coming from high fantasy male readers, and then also all like classic literature, like aficionados. And like, I don't care that you're reading classic literature. I don't care that you only read high fantasy. So why are you judging other people for what they read? Especially like romance readers. Romance readers get the most judgment and the most criticism from other genre readers. And it makes no sense because romance is like the highest selling genre, I think. Romance is keeping the book industry alive. Why are we talking down on them? Why are we judging them for what they're reading when romance publishing is like some of the highest grossing publishing out there? Like, it's actually insane. It makes no sense. And when I see people who are a genre snob, like outwardly so, like if I ever see anyone who's like, oh, well, you don't read classics, I'm better than you, like, oh, instant turn off. Like, I just don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be your friend. I don't care what you have to say. You could be the nicest person, except that aspect of your personality, and I'm still not going to like you because it's just rooted in like judgment. Like, you're just being judgmental for what? For no fucking reason. It makes no fucking sense. I need to calm down. Another just random bookish pet peeve that has absolutely probably no merit, but it bothers me, is when there is a series of books and for some reason the number isn't on the spine. So by that I mean like the first book doesn't have a 1, second book doesn't have a 2, etc. I mean, you could just open the book because most of the time it'll say like the book title and then like book 2 of blank series, you know? But like sometimes I just want to see the numbers. When I put it on my shelf and I'm like, ooh, look at all the books I've read. You know, I don't know. Am I the only one? This one I feel like I might be alone in, and that's fair. It's just another random like type A categorization peeve, I would say, which is probably very niche in the long run, but what are you gonna do? And the last pet peeve that I forgot to talk about in my first video that I thought of by myself before I saw everybody's input on Instagram is when there's a trigger warning page in a book and it's entirely a joke. Like, the author is not taking the trigger warning seriously. I saw this, I cannot for the life of me remember what the book was, but one time I opened a book and I think it was a romantasy, and it was supposed to be like a dark romantasy or whatever. I don't even know. I can't remember because I've completely erased this book from my memory, but I remember the trigger warning page was like, this book has a lot of heavy content. If you have any triggers at all, it's probably in here. All the triggers, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. And then it was like, have fun. You're not helping anyone. You're not telling me what's in there. Like, saying if you have a trigger, it's probably in here. No, you need to list them out. If you're going to have a trigger warning page, take it seriously. And if you're going to make a joke out of it, then just don't have one. Annoying. You're not helping. You're fucking stupid. It just shows me that that author has no like regard for other people's feelings, because you sat there and you took the time to write out this page as a joke. You probably could have taken the same amount of time to just list the actual triggers. And then to put have fun at the end, disgusting. Triggers are not meant to be like, woo, there's a trigger in here. It's gonna traumatize you, have fun. Like, it's not meant to be like enticing. It's not meant to be like titillizing, you know? It's meant to tell you this traumatic, harrowing, like deep, tough conversation, topic, theme, situation, whatever happens in this book. So if that's something that is going to affect your mental health, please don't read it. Like, that's what the trigger is for. It's just dumb. Why would you make light of the trigger page? You sat there and took the time to do that. So you could have just listed the triggers out and saved yourself the embarrassment of looking like an asshole. But I digress. Now, you all sent me such good ones on Instagram. So, one of the ones that I saw and immediately agreed with was from Jade, and she said, paperbacks coming out a year later. Yes, absolutely. I agree with this so much because hardbacks are more expensive. The paperback is obviously more affordable. It's also less heavy, easier to hold, easier to read. So for people with like arthritis, right? Like that's going to be an ideal situation is for them to be able to get the paperback. I do notice that with Orbit specifically, majority of their books are also coming out in paperback at the same time. And that's one of the reasons why I love them so much. Not only are they releasing amazing books left, right, and center, but they are more often than not also releasing the paperback at the same time. But there are so many publishers where, especially in America and like Canada, I think, actually, no, I think Canada gets paperbacks quickly, if I'm not mistaken. But like, there's a lot of publishers that give the hardback and you don't get the paperback for a year, which is crazy work to me because some people only want to collect paperbacks because they're cheaper or because they're easier to hold, and that's fine and valid. And it's like, it sucks because then people are like, oh, like, on a book release day, you're like, I can't even go get the book. I could get it from the library, but like, I don't want to buy it because it's not in paperback yet. I agree. I agree so much with that one, Jade. Top notch pet peeve. I should have thought of that on my own. Jade also said real and fake stickers on books. Oh my gosh. I absolutely agree with the fake stickers, like those, because you can't take them off. They're just there and they're so fucking ugly most of the time. A lot of these fake stickers are hideous. The real ones, like I would prefer if they weren't there, but like I can just take it off, So it's not like a deal breaker, but it is definitely still annoying. Absolutely. Especially the fake ones. Oh my God, you're so right for that. Maddie on Instagram said, the automatic defensiveness when you say that you hated a book somebody else loved. I could not agree more. When I am about to say that I didn't like a book and I know that people loved it, if I know it's like super popular, for example, or if like a really close friend recommended it to me and I'm like, I'm really sorry, I hated this, I always feel the need to like add a disclaimer because I know it's going to make people get like offended. And I'm like, I'm sorry, are you the author? Did you write this book? I don't think you did. So why are you getting so offended? This kind of happened to me a little bit with Aragon. Like, I definitely pissed off a couple of my friends when I was like, this book is bad. I hated it so much. And then I feel like some of them got a little defensive. And I was like, if you like it, I love that for you. But I hated it. Like, and it's like, let me hate it and I will let you love it. And we can just agree to disagree. It's not a big deal. And I jokingly say like about Strange Dreamer, I'm like, oh, if you hated it, like don't tell me. But I literally don't care. I have had close friends. My friend Shay specifically has been like, I read Strange Dreamer and I hated it. She hated it so much that she gave me her ARC copy of Muse of Nightmares. She was just like, I hate it. Here's the ARC. You can have it. I'm done with it. I never want to read or talk about this book again. And I was like, well, I'm sorry you hated it. I love it so much, but thanks for the book. Like it's fine. Like I don't actually care. I mean, it's one thing if you like hate the book and then start slandering like the readers maybe, because then I could see if they're getting defensive, like, because if you're like, anyone who likes this book is a fucking dumb bitch, like, okay, then I'm like, yeah, sure, get a little defensive. But if I'm just sitting here like, this book was bad, I don't think it was written well, I think it was awful, blah, blah, whatever, like, yeah, I agree, Maddie, absolutely, couldn't agree more. Timo replied, gatekeeping additional chapters or short stories by releasing them in a special edition. Yes, I hate this one. Especially like, I will say Sarah J. Maas is a huge culprit of that, where I think, was it the Crescent City, like third book or whatever? I think the Crescent City third one, you had to get one at Target, one at Walmart, one on Amazon, and one's at Barnes & Noble, because there were 4 separate bonus chapters and they each were a special edition, like only for one location. And I'm like, does she not realize people are poor sometimes? Like sometimes people are not able to buy 4 copies of the same fucking book. A lot of the times they end up on the internet anyway because people upload them and they're not all heroes wear capes, but they're out here uploading the short stories or bonus chapters, whatever. And so like most of the time you don't really have to be excluded, but the intention is to really exclude people who aren't buying those extra copies. So even though there's a way around it, even though there's like a loophole, you know, like the intention is there to exclude people who aren't gonna buy every edition. I agree. That one fucking sucks. Pearl said resurrection trope. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely hate resurrection trope. As much as I get depressed and sad when my favorite character dies, I would rather that they died and stayed dead. Because then you bring them back for what? What was all the other shit for then, huh? Nothing. And she also said, people spoiling books online without warnings. Absolutely. Couldn't agree. Even if a book is like super old, I try to give a little bit of a warning, like, hey, I'm gonna have mild spoilers. Spoiler ahead. Spoilers for whatever. If you haven't read it, skip it. Like, it takes 5 seconds of your time. Why wouldn't you just say that? Mojo Pie Reads said, when books have complicated fantasy names but no pronunciation guide. Oh my God. That's one of the ones where I was like, I wish I thought of that myself, because you're right. That does annoy me. And a lot of the times I feel like there are glossaries or pronunciation guides sometimes in high fantasy, but most of the time in high fantasy or even like light fantasy or whatever, even in YA, you have all these made up names. Nobody knows how to fucking say them. Kayla Grace Reads replied, young adult category should be 18 to 25 years, not 14 and up. 14 and up should be pre-adult or teen. I kind of agree what you mean, but I agree a little bit, but I also disagree. So I think 18 to 25 is that age range that we're classifying as new adult, because when you turn 18, that's when you become an adult technically, right? So 18 to 25, you are new at being an adult. So I understand the new adult category. I just think it's not given enough like two books that deserve it. So I think you're like right in breaking up that age a little bit more. And then young adult, because I feel like young adult should maybe be like, yeah, I don't know. I think 14 to 17 could be like upper YA, and then middle grade, you know, like young adult or maybe lower YA, because it's younger than actual adulthood. So yeah, but they're not young, they're not adults. They're children. They're teenagers. Should we just rename young adult to teens? Teen fiction? Like, should we just rename it? I think that these ages and the groupings that you have make sense. But I do think that 18 to 25 is technically new adult. And then I guess we're classifying teens as young adult, which is stupid because it's like we're classifying teens as young adult, but then books are getting banned that are age appropriate for them because they're too mature. So it's just all a mess. It's all a mess, honestly. So I agree and disagree a little bit. Like mostly agree, but just I do think that new adult needs to become like more solidified in publishing as like a thing. And like we need to like cement that space for that age. And yeah, Pearl also said, people doing final page reaction reels. I think it's spoilery. So I think by this, she means like sitting down to read the last chapter or the last page of a book and like recording themselves. And then the entire time they're like, oh my God, man. Because then it's like you kind of are setting an expectation for the feelings that you're supposed to have at the end of a book, which I agree. I actually do agree with this one. I think it's like a fine line, right? Because there are instances where, you know, there's like a cliffhanger or something, right? And maybe you've been warned like, oh my God, you're going to love the ending. I can't wait to see your reaction to the ending. Can't wait to hear your thoughts about the end. So it's like, I get the desire, like as a content creator, like I get the desire to want to capture that like moment, because you're like, oh, this will be good content if I start sobbing my ass off, you know? So like I get it, but it is also a fine line. So I think Pearl also said not marking spoilers. So maybe we just need to add like the caveat of spoiler reaction to the ending of X book. And then that will kind of like nullify that line between like, is it a spoiler? Is it not a spoiler? Just so if you don't want to see that, you can just scroll away, you know? I do agree a little bit, but I also, as a content creator, like I get the desire to want to capture that, but also I've never done that either. Should I? I don't know. Probably not. I'll probably forget. Biddy Book Lover replied, tiny female character with very tall love interest, which gets mentioned over and over again. Oh my God. Yeah, agree. Agree. It kind of falls into the scope of like, I'm so petite, I'm so little, I'm so small and frail and thin. But then at the same time, it's like you said, the love interest is tall and it just gets mentioned over and over again. He was so tall and she was so little. Like, we get it. Do you think the reader is stupid? Do you think we forgot the 5 other times you said it? Why do we keep needing to repeat it? Like, just trust your readers to have a good memory. And if they don't, they can flip back when you describe the characters. Yeah, I agree. It's annoying because it's like, is that your only personality trait? Is your only personality trait being a tall guy or a small girl? You've got to have something going on for you other than that, or it's going to be really boring. I have a few more from Senna, and he says, sassy, strong female main character that loses all her character when some toxic guy appears. I agree with you wholeheartedly. And unfortunately, I've seen this happen in real life. I have seen like a friend in the past, like a long time ago in high school. So don't worry about it. I'm not calling any of you out. But yeah, I've seen a friend who was like really smart, bubbly, strong willed, very independent. The minute she started dating this guy, it was like she disappeared off the face of the planet and just had no personality and it was awful. And it's equally awful in books because it's like you're rooting for this girl. She's a spitfire. You're like, hell yeah, like I'm on your team. Let's go. I'm really enjoying her. And then like a guy shows up and she just turns into mush. Ugh, boring. Senna also said, people annotating stupid shit because it looks aesthetic. I can't lie. I do be annotating stupid shit. I'm not an aesthetic person though. So like even if I tried, it would still look ugly. But I actually really like I actually really like those Instagram pages that are like basically just annotations and like pretty doodles and like little sparkles. I really like that. Maybe it's just because I can't do that. So it's like a form, like I'm jealous, but I admire it. But I could see why. Like I could see why that would be annoying. Another one from Senna. Authors repeating the same sentence over and over. He growls. She tugged her braid. Oh my God. Yes. I do agree with that one. The repetitiveness just kind of like, it just makes you want to roll your eyes because we get it, you know? And this one is a dig at a certain artist. Covers with people's backs staring at some fantasy landscape. I really like those covers that you're talking about, but I also do agree they are kind of repetitive and boring. Armin said, plot conveniences when everything just magically happens in favor for the main character. I couldn't agree more. I hate plot armor. And I did talk about this in my first video where I was talking about if someone gets an injury and then there's like no actual consequence and it just gets erased or forgotten about. I feel like that's very similar because it's like the character is just protected by what's happening in the world because without that character, without the main character, like, are we ever going to read the story? So like, there needs to be consequences because otherwise it's hard to get invested if just everything magically goes well for them. Agreed. Tim Burbage also said, when the author wants a cliffhanger so just doesn't write a third act. I haven't come across this personally, at least not that I can remember, but that would annoy the fuck out of me. So I agree. Tim also said, when a book's fantasy world has fancy made up names for ordinary things, just call it a horse. Yeah, I agree. I was reading something recently and I can't remember what it was, but the main character was like putting on pants or something, and instead of calling them pants, there was this like crazy name for them. And I was like Googling, I was like, is this a word that I should know? Is this like a cultural piece of clothing? Like, what is this? And I couldn't find anything. And I'm like, couldn't you have just called them like trousers, pants, leggings, even? Like, just something that already exists? Like, why are you making up words for a pair of pants? Blood Elf Books says, I don't like listening to someone read the back of a book word for word LOL. I have an awful memory and I do that a lot on my channel, so you should probably just unsubscribe. Bye! Heather from Hia Booktubes says, reading, pace, discourse. I agree. So I'm a slow reader, and by that I mean I read maybe 4 to 5 books a month on a good month, and that's a lot. The average person reads like what, 1 book a year? So like I'm already beating the average person, you know? To me, it doesn't matter. You could read 300 books a year. Cool. I'm jealous. I wish I had your drive, your focus, your momentum. I am not that person. I wish I could be. I don't understand how to achieve that. And I look at those people with jealousy and admiration, but I would never look at them and be like, ugh, 300 books in a year? Are you even listening to the book? Are you even absorbing what you're reading? Like, I know that's exactly what's happening, right? There's a lot of people who read a fuck ton of books, and then everybody else is like, you probably don't even remember anything. You read 2 books in a day, every day for this whole year. Like, that's impossible. Do you even have a life? Oh my God, you're just lying. You probably didn't even read them. And then there's people who read slowly. They feel bad about themselves because other people are reading more. And I hate that. Like, as a booktuber, if I give you a wrap up with 4 books, okay, cool. I read 4 books. Like, if anyone comes in my comments and is like, wow, you only read 4 books last month? Slow ass bitch. I'm instantly blocking them because, yes, I only read 4 books last month. I could have read none. Deal with it. Why does my life, why does my reading matter to you? Just let people read what they want to read. Let people read how fast or how slow they read. I like to read slow because I like to really picture what's happening in my head and absorb all of the details. I'm a very detail-oriented reader, so like characters, settings, and emotions and like the way things look and feel like really matters to my enjoyment of a book. And so I like to read slowly. I don't like to rush myself, and that's fine. And then there's people who want to read fast because they get better enjoyment out of finishing a story in a couple of days or a day, or they just like listening fast because they have the ability to picture it better that way. It doesn't matter. Like, fucking, the show is made up and the points don't matter. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, fuck. Yeah, I agree, Heather. My friend Kat said, repetitive language, dog-eared pages, and The Chosen One. I do like the Chosen One trope sometimes, but it is very oversaturated. I feel like it's kind of the default trope, unfortunately, for fantasy. So I kind of agree. The Chosen One is like overdone. Dog-eared pages, I personally don't do this. That's a lie. I did actually dog-ear a book recently. I don't usually do this, especially not with like a library book. That would piss me off if I saw somebody dog-ear a library book. But yeah, I agree. And especially repetitive language. Repetitive language can really hinder the enjoyment of a book for me. Recently, I was reading a book where it would happen a few times where the character would be like, oh, I clenched my jaw. And then 3 sentences later, my clenched jaw. But then it would never show up again. But it was like, why was it so close together? And then it kept happening with different phrases where it was like, one phrase showed up twice in a paragraph, another phrase showed up twice in a paragraph, another phrase showed up twice in a paragraph. But then those phrases didn't repeat anywhere else, but I was like, why are we repeating it so close together? And then it just kept nagging at me, and it took me out of the story for a little bit. So I do agree. Kat also says, when people borrow books, never return them, and poorly edited books. I agree. Poorly edited books take me out of the story. If it's like a glaring like mistake, I'll be fully in the middle of a scene, engaged, and then this mistake like jumps at me and I'm like, what? Where were we? Anyways, and then I have to go back and read it again, and that's annoying. I do try to be more lenient though for like self-published authors because they have to pay for editors out of pocket, and maybe they aren't able to pay for as many rounds of edits as they would like to. Or maybe they can't afford an editor, so their first book was not edited professionally, just edited by themselves. So I try to be lenient when it comes to a self-published book like that, but if it's a traditionally published book, poor editing really irks me. Whew, that was a lot. You guys sent me so many replies to my story asking for your bookish pet peeves, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for sending these to me. It was so much fun to chat about, and I agreed with so many of you on so many of these things. And I want to just have a disclaimer here at the end where these are personal preferences. None of this stuff matters. If I sit here and tell you that I hate boring characters and I prefer characters to be really well-rounded and written, and the plot could suffer a little bit, but then the characters carry it for me, and you disagree, okay, fine, that's what you prefer. I don't mind. And if I am sitting here telling you that I hate deckled edges and you like deckled edges, that's also fine. This is all just subjective. None of this is a fact. These are all opinions. Sometimes people agree with your opinions, sometimes your opinions, and sometimes people don't agree with your opinions, and that is fine. Let people read what they want to read. Let people feel what they want to feel, blah, blah, etc., etc. It's all just opinions. If you made it this far in the video, leave a bat emoji because my husband got me this really cute bat cup down in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!